Hi, Danielle. Let's take a look at your latest set of essays. You've got the letter to the newspaper here. Let's see what you said. Dear newspaper editor, I am writing this letter to share my point of view of a report complaint that was posted yesterday in your newspaper. It was regarding a TV program that I dearly like. It is called TV Inside Education. Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, it's probably a good idea to capitalize newspaper and editor. Okay? Second of all of this was one sentence, and I have to tell you that you separated some of your ideas with commas, but you need to know that commas are not enough to do this. A lot of people think that as long as they throw in commas, that they can throw together several different sentences. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The comma doesn't do that much work. Okay? Does some work, not this much. So, um, let's see if we can switch this around and you'll see what I mean. I'm writing this letter to share my point of view of a report that was posted in your newspaper. Full stop. The story complained about a TV program that I dearly like called TV Inside Education. Okay? And if you do it like that, it's accurate and I think it flows a lot better. I believe this kind of complaint is not adequate to happen because this kind of TV program is designed to entice. What the heck is this? Sorry. This TV program is designed to entice kids to further study important subjects. Okay. So first of all, I don't want to see kids in a formal essay, informal letter. It's too informal. So use the word children, number one. Number two, I didn't think the word adequate was appropriate. It's not the right vocabulary word here. What could you have said instead? I believe this kind of complaint is unfounded because this type of TV program is designed to entice. I believe this type of complaint is not valid because this kind of program, etc., etc. Okay, so there were other expressions you could have used that would have been much more natural, but this not adequate to happen felt really strange to me. Okay, all right. This specific show, I don't know where this is. Are you saying stimulate? Are you saying estimate? I'm very confused. I think you're trying to say stimulate. So this specific show stimulates, obviously with no E here and then with an S at the end, viewers to explore and experience basic scientific experiments and acquire that valuable experience. They transmit teaching classes daily. Who is they? The viewers? That's a little confusing. And what does this mean? They transmit teaching classes. So the show does, the viewer does. This is rather kind of confusing to me. I didn't understand this part of the sentence. I like that you put a semicolon. That was good, but the meaning of the sentence itself is kind of lost here. I love this show because it allowed my children to better understand science and mundane information through great visual materials that will guide them while learning. Those materials are easily available to download using QR codes showed during those classes. Okay. It would be of great importance for me that your newspaper does not discourage the audience of this program, but helps in its dissemination. Ooh, lovely. I have high hopes that this show will incentivize, maybe that's what you mean, even greater audiences to learn and experience science. All right, now since you started with Dear Newspaper Editor and you don't know the name, this should have been a yours faithfully. This is what we do in formal letters when we do not know the name of the person to whom we are writing. We finish with yours faithfully. I really liked that last paragraph. I thought your development was good. I thought your task achievement in this letter was quite good, but there was some awkwardness, right? So, some strange grammar, some strange vocabulary primarily. So be careful with that, okay? But as far as task achievement is concerned and organization, so coherence and cohesion, I thought you did a nice job. All right, let's take a look at computer education. Is it necessary or will we just figure it out because we're in front of a screen all day? Let's see what you said. In the current days, schools will require and educate youngsters on how to use computers. I believe this kind of practice is needed and may bring good results. All right. Well, I like that this is nice and brief and that you really clearly laid out your thesis, your position. That's good. I kind of wanted to change around maybe some of the vocabulary in the first sentence. Let me show you what I mean. Um, Not really in the current days. How about just currently? So why don't we try that? Currently, schools require, now this was awkward. Uh, they require and educate. Okay, they require what? Like do you understand what I mean? Like I understand that they educate youngsters on how to use computers, but where does the require go to? Do you understand what I mean? So it's kind of like a verb that's just there and doesn't really belong. So why don't we do it a little differently? Like schools will require, no, currently schools require youngsters to learn how to use computers. Okay? I like that actually. Um, and that's fine. You didn't mention anything about whether they acquire from their own interaction, but I was, like I said, I was okay with what you wrote. Compulsory computer education may be necessary, and that is a good thing. Humanity nowadays is very dependent on computers for survival and prosperity. Thus, it is of not far, it is of great importance for children to learn how to use a computer and thrive with it as it will be well demanded in the future. All right, a little long, but fine. The compulsory part of this belief is important, especially now here you needed an E, especially when dealing with subdeveloped countries. These countries almost always deal with poverty, and education cannot be left out, even when there are other important aspects happening inside that society. All right. Okay. I do have a couple of questions here. So you told us that we're going to be very dependent on computers. And then you said, therefore, it's really important. I would have liked maybe an extra sentence about that. Just even anything, like no matter how obvious it is. So, like, in other words, anybody from a supermarket cashier to the CEO of a company must be familiar and comfortable with using computers as they are part of more and more jobs every day. Okay, so even just like a sentence like that, it really would have just been further explanation and development of what you said here. Now, this I thought was nice. I like the idea, but again, I really wanted you to just go a step further to say like something like so for even for developing countries, knowing computers can be a wonderful way out of poverty and um, lower socioeconomic conditions or something like that. So I would have liked again just one step further. Okay, due to high demand of computer knowledge and practice, education is of most importance for all countries in all professional scenarios. For example, here in Brazil, poverty not is happening. Poverty exists across the country, and with that, people are unable to use computers or technology at all. Thus, when computer education comes from inside the schools, these people will be able to practice computer. No, this doesn't make sense. We'll be able to practice computer demanding jobs. You mean something else. You mean when computer education comes from inside the schools, these people will be prepared to take on jobs uh, requiring computers even without a personal computer at home. Okay. I kind of feel like what you're talking about here is similar to what you were talking about here. So it feels a little repetitive. True, you did go into more detail here in this paragraph, but I kind of feel like maybe you needed to redo some of this. So let me show you what I mean. Here you're talking about developed countries that, developing, I'm sorry, developing countries dealing with poverty and education. And then here again, you were talking about the same thing. So let's see, where was that? Poverty is happening all across the country, etc., etc. So it really seems like some of these ideas are rather repetitive, doesn't it? Um, all right, we'll talk about it in a minute. I want to read your conclusion and then I'll see if I can help you come up with some other ideas on how to develop this. So, in conclusion, compulsory computer education is a high necessity for people to practice jobs around the world, and it is especially true, spelled wrong, when it comes to subdeveloped countries, because that way people out of reach from technology will still be able to learn how to use it. Okay. All right. So, I'm okay with that argument. I'm just not okay with it being in both of these paragraphs because it makes it feel very repetitive. What you could have said instead, perhaps, is that one of the reasons why computer education is important is because, yes, while it's true that students do have access to computers many times in their homes and they are learning some things on their own. However, they many times they're just like playing on YouTube or playing video games, and so they're not really gaining skills that would help them in their future. These types of skills are best learned in school, where they can learn how to use programs like PowerPoint, like Excel, or just name whatever program you like. And so these can be very helpful to these children in their future. So if you would talk about stuff like that, I think that would have been a nice way to develop this as well. All right, so I think that's pretty much the end of this correction. I think you have more essays coming, so I'll be looking out for them, be looking forward to them. Okay, and good luck.